Hi. Today I want to talk about some ideas about innovation in society and our sense of belonging in society and the structures of different societies, homogeneous societies versus non homogeneous societies. And I'm going to be comparing and contrasting these and talking about a little bit of some information that I have gathered from Dr. Gordon Neufeld, who's a developmental child psychologist. But this is my interpretation of like workshops that I've gone to and things that I've read and watched that he's written and talked about. So the basic idea is in a homogeneous society, it's much easier to have a sense of belonging because everybody's doing things the same way. There's the same customs of how you come to someone's house, how you eat dinner, how you talk to each other. Everyone has similar ideas about people's roles, how we treat elders, how we treat children, women's roles, men's roles, all of that stuff is kind of defined within the culture. And then it becomes very easy both for people in the culture and for, as you're raising children, for them to know what's expected of them and to feel like they belong. They know what they're supposed to do when this happens and when that happens. Versus a non-homogeneous society, you have completely different cultures coexisting. So, you can have like a couple where the parents are each coming from a different culture and have different ideas about all of these things that we've mentioned. And so the child has to be like, one person is saying that's bad and the other person is saying that's good. And then they go to school and all the adults there are potentially from all different societies. They go to their friend's house and every friend's house is different. So that can be very confusing for children. And from what I understand with the work of Dr. Gordon Neufeld, he's talking about how when you're in a homogeneous society, it's easier for kids to develop emotionally and mature without having to do too much because they feel held by the society because they know what they're doing, they know what they're supposed to be doing, and everyone's kind of on the same track. Versus if you're in a non-homogeneous society, they need to feel attached. And the way that you go about attachment in a non-homogeneous society has to be a lot more conscious, and it has to be about consciously making sure that your child is attached to you and is kind of following you in what you're trying to do, rather than, like, you don't want to be bullying the child. You want to have firm boundaries and expectations, but you want to do it in a kind way and in a way that you're understanding the child as well. So there's like a relationship. And so this can happen, like a teacher can see the child and let the child know that she sees him and she knows he's smart and like, I know you want to do good for me, kind of thing. Is the way that he talks about alpha is about being that kind of an alpha, where you're like the duck mom that's got the little ducklings waddling behind her because they feel safe with you and they want to follow you and they want to do your bidding, but it's because you're opening that attachment up with them. So you're not just yelling at someone to do something all the time. You're like checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, and then like drawing them in to then go and do what needs to be done. And that allows children to feel relaxed and allows them to depend on you, and that allows them to develop naturally from one stage to the next. So the difference, I think it's more challenging for parents in a non-homogeneous society to collect their children and to get them to follow them always, because they're going to be getting different messages from everywhere. But I think in terms of innovation, I'm going to come back to that because I feel like that's almost like a thing that's not just children. It's like adults in non-homogeneous societies are maybe a little bit feeling like they need to fight to make sure everything's okay. Like, it creates more anxiety, I think, in the adults and the children. But when we come to the idea of innovation, what I've been thinking is that in a homogeneous society, it's almost like people have blinders because everyone does everything the same way and everyone just believes that this is your role and this is what you do. It creates blinders for innovation to happen because people can't see around the things that are not allowed in their culture. So in non-homogeneous societies, you have people from different cultures coming together, working together in a workplace where they're not having to live together, right? They're not having to get defensive and try and prove who's right and who's wrong. I mean, there may be a little bit of that, but they're also collaborating. They're in these like independent workspaces, collaborating get together. And because one person has this perspective and another person has that perspective, and they can bounce ideas off each other, and whereas someone may never even go in a certain direction because that's a no-go zone for them and their culture, the other person can come in and say, well, what about this? And but yeah, you could do it like this. And that's, I think, a big way that innovation happens in society and in non-homogeneous societies. One of the examples that I remember hearing in university was that one of the potential reasons that Hitler lost World War II is because he did not believe that women should be working outside of the home, whereas in the United States, that was obviously women ended up working in the factories, so it kind of, it was able to double their output or increase their output of the products that they needed that eventually led to winning the war. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's it.